So we're going to move right into introducing ourselves for you today. Bear with me one moment. Okay. So my name is Rachel Lubetkin. I'm the manager of operations and customer service here at Columbia Residential, where I work with the student leasing side of our office. I've been with Columbia Residential for the last 2 years, and prior to that, I actually came from the school side where I worked with students in housing as well. Susan, I'm going to let you jump in here and introduce yourself as well.
Yes, good morning. I'm Susan Saar, and basically I'm the manager of faculty housing, and I've been doing that for about 1.5 years. And prior to that, I managed the off-campus housing assistance office for 21 years, and I also managed student sublets for 12 years. So I'm very happy to be here to help with this presentation and introduce the newest improvements to the sublet process and to help guide you through any questions or concerns after the webinar presentation.
All right, thank you, Susan. So getting started, I do want to take a moment and just sort of address the reason why we sublet. And the reason that we offer this option is we want to offer a solution to alleviate the financial burden that our residents may have when they are outside of New York City and paying rent. So this process is not designed for you to reap a financial profit, which is why we limit and monitor what it is that you can charge subtenants. We also want to be sure that our housing is being allocated in a way that best serves Columbia and meets the needs of our community. So that is why we have some limitations to the process. So today we're going to walk you through what the requirements and the process is. We're going to start out, Susan's going to share with you some of the improvements that we've made to the process this year. We're going to talk about the process of finding a subtenant, what eligibility requirements are in place, and then how to submit that sublet application and get approval, and then the tenant and subtenant responsibilities. So at the end of all of this, we are hoping that we answer all of your questions during the session, but at the end, we'll also take any questions that you may still have through the Q&A chat box, and we'll answer those live for you today. So getting started, Susan, you want to jump right into what has improved?
Absolutely. What has improved essentially is going to make this process more streamlined for you. And the first thing to talk to you about is we now use DocuSign for the signature page, which will speed everything up a lot. And we're hoping the processing times will just be about 3 business days after receipt of the academic approvals. So what happens is, you'll submit your sublet application. If there's no academic approvals required, when we just trigger the signature page, it'll go first to your subtenant and to your prospective subtenant, and then to you to sign, and it'll be approved right away. And you'll each receive a copy for your records. So we're excited about that. The second thing that has improved is, we have new dates for the leave periods, which you might want to take note of. For summer leaves, it's May 1st to August 31st. Winter leaves are now December 1st to January 31st. And the last thing that has changed and improved are that for students, the housing liaison form is sent automatically through the portal to your housing liaison. So that should be very quick. And faculty, in order to get departmental approval from the department chair, faculty have to provide that contact information to the faculty team so that we can contact them to verify the leave. So you also are going to want to follow up on that. Students, make sure that you contact your housing liaison and make sure that they're on top of it. Faculty, same thing. Make sure that your department chair takes care of signing that form and returning it to us. This is something that we've received questions about quite a lot. So we just want to clarify that you are responsible for finding your own subtenant. We do not find a subtenant for you. The subtenant is your choice and therefore your responsibility. And we have the off-campus housing marketplace is an excellent place where you can place a listing for your available space, and you will attract responses from people searching for a sublet. And bear in mind that in order to search the sublets, the Columbia sublets on the off-campus housing marketplace site, they have to have a uni. So for security reasons, that's a great thing. You'll only have Columbia affiliates contacting you. Although that does not mean that you can't sublet to someone who's not an affiliate. You can. It's just this is the way that the marketplace site works. And then eligibility for a subtenant. Basically, they have to be at least 18 years old. If they are a student, they have to be in good financial and conduct standing in order to sublet. If, in regard to gender, if the resident, and this is for students, not for faculty, if the resident is in single gender housing, then the subtenant must be the same gender. We stick to that. And then if you are in a single occupancy only dorm or apartment, that means you can only sublet to one individual. So you can't sublet to a couple if you are in single occupancy in a single occupancy unit. And then finally, no pets. We have a no pet policy. This is for students. Subtenants may not have pets in any Columbia residential units. So do use this off-campus housing marketplace as a resource to help you find a subtenant if that makes sense. If you're looking for a subtenant and you don't know of other resources, that could be an excellent resource.
All right, thank you, Susan. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about eligibility, and I'm going to start out by first addressing the 3 buildings that we have in our portfolio that are not eligible to sublet. So they are listed here. It's 455 Central Park West, 3041 Broadway, and 517 West 121st. These are properties that Columbia Residential does not own. And the residents in these buildings are not allowed to sublet. So if you're in any of these buildings, please make a note of that. Hopefully you were already aware of this, but we just want to make sure to highlight that before we get into the additional eligibility. So another requirement is residents need to maintain full-time affiliation with a university while they are subletting. So students, for example, cannot be on a leave of absence or have withdrawn from the university. There are some exceptions. There's some small differences between faculty and students. So for example, faculty can be on sabbatical and can sublet during that period of time. We also require a reoccupancy. So this means that residents must return to their unit, and this is specifically students again, for 30 days at the end of their agreement. And so this is to make sure that, if you're going to move out and not planning to return, what we would like is for you to return the unit to us so then we can rent it out to another student who needs housing. So if you're not going to be in it, we want to have the option to provide housing to additional students. This 30 days was designed to work with the different schools and the different timelines for all of the study abroad, an externship and fieldwork opportunities that many students have. You also need to have an active housing agreement. We know right now a lot of people are still waiting for the next year's renewal. Those will be coming out later in the month. You can go ahead and submit those applications to sublet now. Those dates will just show as pending. You'll need to check a box saying that you do plan to renew. But that process can start. You can get approval for it, and then once you do sign your lease renewal, then it will automatically be approved at that point in time. Also, students need to live in housing for 1 semester prior to subletting. So as you are moving in, we want you to, again, this is to keep you from being financially liable for your apartment when you're not living in it. So you need to live in it 1 semester at least before you sublet. We also have approved sublet dates. So you can see there's summer leave, winter leave, and professional leave. We have extended these periods slightly. So summer leave is May 1st to August 31st. Winter leave is December 1st through January 31st. If you are planning to sublet during these periods, you will not be required to get approval from your school or your academic department. So in this case, even if the reason that you're going is an externship or some professional opportunity, during summer and winter leave, you're going to want to select that from the dropdown as the reason, so that you don't have to go through the steps of getting that additional approval. If it is during the academic year, that is when we do require approval from your school, either your housing liaison or your department. And so you'll need to submit the reason as leave of whichever kind, and then from there we'll get approval from your liaisons in order for us to approve that sublet. We've got one more page of eligibility. So the sublet duration. So New York law does require a minimum sublet period of 30 days. We also have a maximum sublet duration of 365 days. So if you are planning to be gone for more than a year, you would need to move out and reapply for housing upon your return. You also need to be outside of New York City. So if you are outside, if you are in New York City, then there wouldn't really be a need for you to sublet. So this is, again, designed to help people who are outside of the area. Also the rental rates. So to clarify, those must not exceed the base rate plus Ethernet if that's applicable. So students aren't charged Ethernet charges. So in that case, they couldn't pass on charges to residents that they are not paying for. So that's one thing we check when you are submitting your documentation to make sure that you are not overcharging subtenants. You are able to charge a furniture usage fee. So if you're in an unfurnished apartment and it is your own furniture, you can charge a 10% of your base rent charge for that furniture usage. For those who pay utilities, and again, this won't really apply to students, you can also include this. So electricity, gas, cable, and if there's other internet charges, you could list all of those there as well. And then finally, a security deposit. So this is something that we highly recommend that you charge just in case there is any damage done to your unit or your personal property. This way, you can be covered, but you should also be prepared to refund that at the end of the sublet period. So I'm going to switch to the next slide and we'll go back to Susan, who's going to talk a little bit about the process of submitting the sublet application.
Sure. So for those of you who've never submitted a sublet application, you go to your housing portal, log in with your uni, and there is a tab on the top that says sublets. Then you click on new and you fill in the information. There is a question about reason for sublet, and that's addressing whether it's a summer leave or a professional leave. And that's important because if it is a professional leave, it will require documentation for students from your housing liaison. And for faculty and postdocs, it is a requirement to have the departmental approval form signed and submitted. So Fill in the application as completely as you can, including the emergency contact information for your subtenant. And that's basically it. You'll submit it, and within 3 business days, we will respond with the next steps. We will trigger the signature page to you through DocuSign if everything's complete. And then again, once you've signed, once the subtenant is signed, it'll automatically be sent to you, the tenant. And you will then, after it will be approved, and you'll each receive a copy for your records. And then we're going to move on to talking about what is the nature of subtenancy, and we're calling it like a disclaimer here. So you should know that the nature of subtenancy is between the tenant and the subtenant. So Columbia needs to know who's we need to know who's in our apartments, but Columbia's not involved. Columbia does not get involved with disputes between the tenant and the subtenant. So, choose carefully. You choose your own subtenant and you maintain the relationship between you. It's really an essential idea to make a written agreement between you, because the sublet application is not a sublease. I'm differentiating between the two because we need the sublet application for various reasons and to have some way to approve it. But the sublease is something you don't need to make a sublease, but you need to make some written agreement between you. And Columbia does not need to see this, by the way. But you basically need to put everything that you've discussed verbally in writing. That's what's recommended. So you're going to outline the terms of the sublet and include anything you discuss between you, including payment of utilities, if that's involved, the move in and move out instructions for your building, if furniture is included, et cetera, basically anything that's discussed. Also, we recommend that you share a copy of your occupancy or lease agreement with Columbia. Share that with your subtenants so that they can see what is required of you, because they need to fulfill those things as well once they're living in the building.
Okay, I'm going to just sort of jump in on that same topic with the sublets and just sort of reiterate the importance of submitting a sublet request and getting approval. So it is important for us to know who is in our buildings, as Susan already said. For emergency purposes, we need to be able to know who to contact and who is there. But it's also a real benefit for you and your subtenant as well, for those, potentially smaller situations that may feel incredibly big at the time. So for example, if a subtenant is locked out of the building, if they lose their keys, if they're not listed as an approved subtenant, the super of the building cannot help them get back into the building. So that is something that is going to be very important for them. And also they can call and submit maintenance requests as well, if they are approved subtenant. So it's important that you do that. And then it's also the law. So we do want to just sort of also point out that there is a potential fine for people who are illegally subletting, as well as potentially being reported to student conduct or community standards or the Office of EOAA. So please do make sure that you're going through this process. We think we've made it fairly easy and accessible for you to use. So Susan, you want to talk about the move-in requirements for these subtenants?
Sure. So there's a few things to know. Once you have an approved sublet and you're ready for your subtenant to move in, just make sure that you're clear and you've discussed these things with your subtenant in advance. First of all, keys. Keys are not something that Columbia gets involved with. You have keys, and it's your job to get the keys to your subtenant. So please do not ask building staff to get involved, because they're not supposed to. Supers, et cetera, in your buildings, they're not supposed to get involved with giving the keys to your subtenant. So you make your own arrangements with keys. Billing, basically, you're going to continue to be billed the rent. So let's just be clear. You're going to have a subtenant there. They're going to pay you directly, but you still have to, of course, pay your rent directly to Columbia on time around the first of the month. So just to clarify that. And if for some reason something breaks or goes wrong, there's a leak, something doesn't work with the, structures inside the apartment, your approved subtenant has the right to submit a maintenance request through the Facility Service Center. So, and that number is on the screen there. You want to make sure that they know about that. So as long as they're an approved subtenant, they can make that request, and the super will respond.
So this does bring us to the end of our presentation. Again, we hope we've answered all of your questions throughout that. I did want to bring you back to our website again. So actually on the left is the off-campus housing marketplace. There's a QR code for that, and we'll send these links as well. On the right, that is to our website. Again, you can use the off-campus housing marketplace. We think it is a great resource for our residents and prospective residents because they do verify their listings. So we feel good recommending that particular platform. But you are welcome to use other connections as well. So if you want to sublet to a friend or family member or someone from your school that you find outside of this, that's completely fine as well. If you log into our website, we are also available. We have all of our information and policies on our website, and you can also find our email address or phone number to reach out to us. And our live chat option will appear when you're on our website as well. So you can also reach out to us at any time with questions. We hope this information was helpful and informative, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining. I just wanted to add, if faculty or postdocs have any questions, please shoot us an email to facultyhousing@columbia.edu, because I think we might not have answered some of the questions, but again, you can always email us, and the email to for students is residential@columbia.edu.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.